Tune Engage here in the capital city of Kansas. For the next hour, we'll be talking all things Washburn basketball here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. Coming up, Skinnies, here at Tune Engage. You can check out all the action. Of course, we got Thursday night football. San Francisco 49ers taking on the Seattle Seahawks here this evening. We'll have some college hoops happening as well. Coming out here to Skinny Sports Bar Grill. Apparently, this is the place to be. This is a jam-packed afternoon. What do you call it? Happy hour time right now here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. Don't forget, coming up on Saturday, you can watch KU in action against Indiana coming up here. And then Sunday, you got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Houston Texans. Of course, great food, specials, drink giveaways, all of that when the Chiefs are in action here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. So coming out, don't forget their fantastic lunch special from 11 to 2, Monday through Friday. You get a cheeseburger and fries for just $5.49. It's a great deal. You cannot miss it. We got a lot to get to. We'll talk with head coach of the Washburn women's basketball team, Laura Westling, from 6:30 to 7. Get a little action of the Washburn women. The Washburn Ichabods are in action on Saturday at Lee Arena. 1 and 3 o'clock tip-offs. Washburn taking on Missouri Western. And so we'll preview that game coming up in just a little bit with head coach Brett Ballard of the Washburn Ichabods. 107 wins, just 55 losses in his career. Joins us now here at the Washburn Coaches Show as the Washburn men and women gearing up for Saturday. Here's the interesting thing, Brett. Once Saturday comes, you don't play again until the 31st. So you got quite a break.
Yeah.
Is that, that's good and bad, I think, but that's a long stretch. The women play on the I believe the women play on like the 29th against Bethany, but I'm thinking, oh my gosh, once Saturday hits, that's the 17th, and you don't play for 14 days. That's incredible to me.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. I've always liked at Division II level, we have that 1 week mandatory break where we cannot practice.
I wish my job was like that.
No, it's
nice. That would have been
awesome. And so it's, no D2 team can practice or play, and it's a good time for our guys to get back home and recharge the batteries and regroup. I think it's a good break for everybody, the coaches and the players. And, you don't feel guilty because nobody's, at Division I, they don't have a mandatory break. So, like everybody, most teams will take a couple-day Christmas break, but usually it's only, 2 or 3 or 4 days. And so our guys will get 8 days off. They'll get from after the game Saturday, and so we'll bring them back and practice on the 27th. And so it'll be good. I think it'll be very beneficial. We always then tell them, when they come back, listen, you've got 2 months to really lock in, January, February, and then if you're playing basketball in March, we always feel like that's the best time of the year to be playing. So, and I think our team, a little bit younger team, probably ready for the break. Young guys, it's always hard on the freshmen especially. It's a long first semester because basically once we start in August, man, we don't really stop. It's pretty much full go from the beginning of school till now. Basketball's a unique sport. We talk about this a lot, Jake. You don't get fall break. You don't get Thanksgiving break. You do get this little Christmas break, but we don't get, a month off like most of the other non-winter sport teams who go home for, a month, and then, hopefully we're still playing and you don't get spring break. So it's a sport that kind of stretches out over both semesters, and so this is definitely a time where our guys will benefit from it.
Yeah, that's it. And is it nice to have a home game being your last game?
Yeah, for sure.
I would think of the calendar year. That would be kind of nice. And then you don't have a lot of guys like super far away. Like I always thought about, Devin Wilson living in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, So basically once the game is over on Saturday at 5 o'clock, right? It's adios.
Yeah. Those guys will head out.
Right at that time.
Yeah, I think, probably 80% of our team is from within 2 or 3 hours. A lot of Kansas City guys. So we all drive. Jayden Hibbett, West Virginia, or Virginia, excuse me, will fly home. Jarmel Johnson's mom's coming out for the game, and he'll drive back to Colorado after the game.
Yeah.
who else? Kevin Eman, who's a walk-on, will fly back to Miami.
Yeah, he's the furthest one.
Yep. So, but yeah, everybody else pretty local, and we'll be able to get home. Connor Depaul, Arkansas, but still, a reasonable 3-4 hour drive. So it'd be good for those guys to get home. I know we got business to take care of Saturday, and we've had a good week of prep, and feel like our guys will be locked in on that. You always worry too that last game, and those young guys, man, you've been there. They've got kind of 1 foot out the door, ready to get home with freshmen. I can remember my freshman year very distinctly in junior college. It was just like, you want to win that last game, you're going to compete, but man, you were so excited about that break. And the older you get, you're still looking forward to it, but it's a little different going home after your first year. Those freshmen, though, man, they're ready.
And I would tell this to everyone, because when we had spring football, the spring season, we would practice before spring break, and then we would have spring break, and then we practice after spring break. And I promise you this, I learned it the hard way. I'm not going to lie to you, I had a few adult beverages, but I remember that first fall season, or spring season, I didn't do any running for that week. And I came back, and I was strong.
Yeah, it's
so
tough.
I'm going to tell these guys, do
a little bit.
Something.
Yeah.
Don't just think, oh, well, I'll be fine. I mean, look at me, young, wild, and fancy-free. No, you got to do something.
We kind of map it out for them. We can't make anything mandatory, which is fine, but we kind of map it out. Like, here,
this is going to be better.
You want to come back? We do here's how I break it down too. I take 8 times 24 hours, which I can't do right now, but we talk about the number of hours, and we say, listen, really, we need you to do something for like 4 of those whatever hours. 4 out of the 8 days, if you'll just spend an hour doing something, getting in the gym, doing something, getting your cardio in, doing a little bit of work, you'll come back ready. And so I kind of break that down as a percentage. Like, listen, that's like 2% of your time home. If you can't commit to that,
and 192 hours.
Yeah.
You got to do something.
You got to do
1
something
hour
for 4 of them. And so we try to kind of break that down to them a little bit, just to make sure. Okay, here's kind of what, if you do this, you'll be fine. We'll come back and have a pretty decent amount of time before we play at UCO, but tough one out of the gate coming back. Top 10 team in the country, and so we got to come back ready.
We're talking with head coach Brett Ballard of the Washburn men's basketball team. The Washburn men coming off a loss to Rogers State, 88-81. And the thing that I look back on that game, and there are certain ways that you can view things, but I look at that game very simply. Momentum's a thing. Momentum is a thing in sports to me during the game. I don't think momentum truly carries over from game to game. I think there's too much in between, because the old adage is, momentum's as good as the next day's pitcher. Oh, you just won 3 games in a row, and your next day's pitcher for the Royals gives up 8 runs in the first inning. There goes your momentum. And so I look at that in that game. Momentum can be a funny thing in basketball. You can just feel it. It's like if you've got the momentum, you're like a snowball rolling down a hill. But if you don't have the momentum, you're trying to hold that thing. And, man, gravity's a powerful, force. And that's kind of what happened to me in that game. The first half, you guys played great. You were clicking. And then halftime in the second half, it just kind of flipped. And they had all the momentum. And you can see that a little bit. And that's how I look at that game is, boy, each team had the momentum, and it came down to just a spot here or there when it comes to that game against Rogers State.
Yeah, I agree, Jake. Played really well in the first half. Probably one of our better halves of the year, especially offensively. What we scored, 54, which is great. That's a great number, especially on the road. I mean, played really well offensively. Tyler Nelson really did a nice job of not only scoring it, but just creating. I think he had 4 or 5 assists in the first half, and so he really got us going. We had a nice flow, rhythm offensively. We played inside out. We finally shot the ball like I think we're capable of shooting, and make 6 or 7 threes in the first half, which was great. So you go in where we wanted to be. I will say this, though. We gave up 37, and I didn't think our defense was quite what it could have been. And you think, okay, well, you're up big, and you're up, that's not going to matter. Well, it ended up, it did matter. And here was probably there was a lot of disappointing things about that game, Jake. I mean, very, very, very frustrating from a coaching perspective. But No, at halftime, the whole deal is, okay, listen, he's in there, he's ripping them, the other team's coach. We got to come out ready and match their energy level. I think when you have a lead like that, I think the first 5 minutes of the half are always important. But when you've got a big lead, you just want to come out and at least play even. You just want to play even. I think a great example last year, championship game, North Carolina, Kansas. Kansas comes out that first 5 minutes and gangbusters, and all of a sudden, when you do that, the momentum piece, like you said, is the train's rolling down the hill, and all of a sudden now you have all this momentum, and now you have the rest of the half to kind of keep chipping away. So if you just come out the first five and you play, even if you just play even, or even just close to even, you still got a 14, 15 point lead, and they've got to really. It takes a lot of energy now. The last 15 minutes of the half to beat you. Not only that, but you still have some confidence. They don't have as much confidence, but we came out flat. We had some defensive breakdowns from, to be honest with you, our upperclassmen that are just unacceptable on some early possessions. All of a sudden, they get a little bit of confidence, and then the rest of the half they kind of kept it. And then the other thing that really hurt us was our turnovers. We had double-digit turnovers in the second half, and live ball turnovers, Jake, that led to points. I think they had, if I'm not mistaken, 17 fast break points or something like that. So, and so they got freebies. We just gave them the ball, and again, it's guys that have been in some of these games. Disappointing that and I know we're not super experienced, but guys that have played enough that we got to take care of the ball. So they get momentum from that, and then again, we can't let the team shoot 60% for the game. That's just not acceptable. Just not our standard. So a lot of things, when you lose like that, there's a lot of things that go wrong. But we got to own it. We got to fight. We got to compete in those games, and we got to have more discipline to get stops and take care of the ball.
When it comes to the momentum, what's the best thing to stop a momentum? How, do you just need a short run, like a 6-0 run, something like that? What's the best way? And I know the adage is, if I knew that, I'd probably be a millionaire, because coaches would be calling me about, hey, how do you do this? And you'd be a really good consultant, to be honest with you. So how do you stop that? Is there something, you call timeouts, you try to, I don't know, do you take the air out of the ball? Do you speed up? What are the ways to do that?
Yeah, I mean, from a coach's perspective, obviously, try to use your timeouts sometimes to calm your team down. You try to offensively run some things where, okay, how can we generate a couple? Let's use some things right now where we need some momentum that we think we can generate some easy baskets. Not that you're not always trying to do that, but okay, we got a couple plays in our back pocket that we think are going to work against this team. Now is probably the time we need to use them to try to generate an easy basket, which we did. And part of it was just we missed some shots we probably could have made. Part of it's lack of execution. Part of it is your substitution pattern. Okay, we've got to play our top guys right now in this stretch to try to get the momentum back. You try to put, for us, it's probably playing some more experienced guys that can handle a little adversity. And that was a little bit hard. We got in foul trouble. Mike Keegan's in foul trouble. Connor Deppball's in foul trouble. So you're playing a little bit of younger guys. And again, we got to stay out of foul trouble. That's part of it. Part of it is then on the defensive end, okay, for them, who's got the hot hand, and can we try to eliminate that guy? For them, they have multiple guys scoring, so that made it kind of tough. But if sometimes, okay, one guy's really got the hot hand right now, can we really, face guard him, deny him, whatever you got to do to try to kill that momentum too. But, again, it comes down to the little things, execution and discipline. This team has lacked that. We are more than capable of playing at a much higher level. We showed it in the first half. We've got to be tighter together, and again, we got to go out and execute and play with discipline to cut those momentum plays.
We're talking with head coach Brett Ballard here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. Come out and check out Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. Of course, coming up on Sunday, Chiefs and Texans. Come on out here to Skinny's and watch the game. Great food, drink specials, giveaways here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill. Take a quick time out here from the Washburn Coaches Show. We'll preview Missouri Western and their squad coming up on Saturday, as well as I got a basketball, I guess you say philosophy question or rules question I got for you. I have no idea what this is, but I'm interested in, because it's not the same for men and women, which to me is stupid, but hey, the NCAA, they do a lot of dumb things. So I got to get you that, and we got a lot more. We'll talk with Laura Westling all coming up here at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill.
COVID-19 get it so bad? I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
There's something about having a number one hit. Can't wait for the next one.
Streaming now, a new Showtime original series, George and Tammy, starring Academy Award winner Jessica Chastain
You live in a fast world.
and Academy Award nominee Michael Shannon.
Fast is the only speed I know.
It's the incredible true story of country music's king and queen.
They're gonna take it from us.
Take what?
Our fire.
George and Tammy, now streaming on Showtime.
At Skinny Sports Bar, your food is fast, delicious, and friendly. Monday through Friday from 11 to 2, dine in at Skinny's for a cheeseburger and fries for just $5.99. Come on, you know it's better than the drive-thru. And every day of the week, there's a friendly and tasty special. How about Wednesdays from 5 to 9 in the evening? Cheeseburger and fries or tots for just $5. That's right, $5. From Thursdays 5 to midnight, Skinny's famous wings are just $1 each. $12 cans, just $2. Skinny Sports Bar at Huntoon Gage in Topeka.
Hear that? From life's fast breaks to slam dunks, Capital Federal's hustle and heart set them apart. CapFed offers you banking for your family and business, home loans and commercial lending for whenever you're ready to take your shot. Whether buying your next home, growing your business, or looking for competitive returns on secure savings, CapFed can draw up a play for you. Full court banking from Capital Federal. Equal housing lender. Member FDIC.
At the United States Postal Service, we're here to deliver fast and reliable
We are up
service
after this
to help
one.
you get holiday ready. We offer free
Sounds
package
good.
pickup and deliver free shipping supplies to your address. So whether you're in Garland, Texas, Rudolph, Wisconsin, or anywhere in between, we're making it easier for you to spread festive cheer this holiday season. USPS, delivering for America. For all your holiday needs, including info about free shipping supplies, free package pickup availability, and restrictions, go to USPS.com/holidays.
Have you ever noticed that when the afternoon light hits your floors, you can see everything, including dust?
So much dust.
And that poor dust gets kicked up into the air, compromising the quality of air you and your family breathe.
Eesh.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper is the fast and easy way to clean your floors, with ultra-thick pads that trap and lock dust before it gets in the air. Just a couple minutes a day.
And dust is gone.
Swiffer Heavy Duty Sweeper. Proud partner of the American Lung Association.
KTPK Topeka. Country 106.9.
Welcome back to Skinny Sports Bar and Grill, located at the corner of Huntoon and Gage here in the capital city of Kansas. That is the Washburn Coaches Show. Talking all things Washburn basketball. They will be in action coming up on Saturday. 1 o'clock tip-off, 3 o'clock tip-off for the Washburn men, 12:45 pregame coverage for the Washburn women as they take on the Missouri Western State Griffins. We'll get to the Griffins here in just a little bit, but I do want to talk to head coach Brett Ballard about why it's different and also is it the right thing to do. I don't know if I've asked you this before. So in the women's game, if you have the basketball late in the game, you decide to call timeout. They go to the bench. You know, your coach is drawing up a play. There's for some, I don't know how they do it, but there's a magician who takes the basketball from the baseline and brings it all the way out to your bench. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. And then the player inbounds the ball from your respective bench. In the men's game, if you call a timeout late in the game, there's no magician there. He's apparently home sleeping. You have to inbound the ball on the baseline since basketball was invented. Why is it that is able to happen? Now, different rules, but also, do you agree with it? Should you be able to move it like the NBA? They call it, the NBA rule where you call timeout late and you get to advance the basketball up for no apparent reason. I absolutely
would you rather go to an NFL game that's 10-7 or 31-34?
I just like going to games. I don't even look at that.
So you don't care about scoring.
I do care about scoring, but here's the thing.
This is a yes or no question. Yeah, I mean,
yes,
either
I do.
one. Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do. You're
Okay.
lawyering me right now.
So I think in general we need more scoring
Okay. I agree
in college
with that.
basketball.
Yep. Mhm.
You know, the NBA went away from hand checks and all that because people, you know, the general fan, I think players in general want more scoring. So I understand what you're saying that, you know, why do you just all of a sudden get to advance the ball? But it goes back to, I think it provides scoring opportunities, and I think that's probably overall a positive for a game. There's
Okay.
pros and cons, but it provides a little more of a scoring opportunity, increases scoring by, you know, it's a very, 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 very small percentage, but still going to allow for a more exciting finish and more scoring.
Okay.
So I would argue that. Now, what I was hoping you're going to ask me is, you know, the women now are resetting the fouls after every quarter.
Yeah.
You know,
5
and
fouls.
the way
that's
we
reset.
foul, Jake, that would be a beautiful, beautiful thing because we love the foul. And so if we could just reset those puppies after every quarter, I would be a much calmer coach, probably less chatter to the officials, and so I would be a fan of. You know, I don't know. I would assume the men's game's going to go to quarters, but like the women's, and
I would
if
like
we
that.
do, I think we'll probably reset the fouls. Which the way we're fouling this year, that'd be awesome.
I just here's the reason why. I remember when I was just a little kid. It's the greatest play in college basketball history. Christian Laettner catches a pass from Grant Hill. That wouldn't be as cool if he throws it in from, you know, Mike Krzyzewski 5 feet away.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
that's the reason why I'm like, oh man. And plus, I think it's a negative to being up. Like your job is to be up with 20 seconds to go. Like you should be at disadvantage because they called a timeout.
Yeah.
They get to move it forward. Like that's the whole point. Like, hey, they have to go the length of the court. You've done what you're supposed to do. Be up with 20 seconds left, and it makes it harder for them to score. And I'm going to go Bryce Drew, Valpo. Like, I don't know. That's just me getting on my soapbox.
I understand what you're saying. I just think that if anything we can do to keep scoring up, and that's a really minor thing that's not going to affect it that much, but I think it's good. NBA's gone to it. If you know it going into the game, everybody's kind of got the same advantage. But I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. I respect it.
How come the women get to do that and you don't? See, that's even more mind-numbing.
Yeah, the women went to the FIBA rules, with the quarters and resetting the fouls and that, and we have it on the men's side for whatever reason. I think it's trending that way, and I would imagine men's game will go to quarters pretty soon because every level of basketball plays quarters except for college men right now. So I think we're kind of trending towards the FIBA rules and like the women have done with the quarters and reset the fouls and that stuff.
I didn't think I'd ask you this question, but since we're on this, and I'm going to talk about fouls here in just a second. Alrighty, you love basketball. You're a basketball junkie to me, and I would almost say a little bit of a purist. So, what are your thoughts on the Elam ending?
I love that.
Really?
It. Yes, I love it.
No kidding. For those of you who don't know what the Elam ending is, once you get to 3 minutes, I think, whoever's leading at the 3-minute mark, then you add 7 points to it, and you try to you have to score it either above or right at that number, so that the clock goes away. There's no more clock except for the shot clock, and you just play. So the score is 60-55 with 3 minutes to go in the game. The next basket then adds 7. So let's say the team scores at 55, so it's 60-57. You have to get to 67. No matter who wins, you get to 67. Fouls are the same as always, but there's no clock. I've seen the basketball tournament do it. I've seen some other things. What's fun about it is it's a game-winning shot. Every game will have a game-winning shot, and then everybody goes crazy. The one thing I dislike about the Elam ending is, to me, that takes away kind of the free throws. I think crunch time free throws shows me your mental capacity, the nervous factor, because, hey, I'm going to foul. We're down by 2. You miss one of those 2 free throws, it's going to be down by 3. You had a chance to ice it. You didn't. I don't want to say you choked, but sometimes you can tell if they choke or not. They really clang one.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I don't like about it. But otherwise, a game-winning shot is maybe one of the coolest things in sports.
Here's another thing I like about it is, and another issue we have with this generation is kids are attention span, people's attention span. We've got to try to keep condensing the time of athletic events. I think every sport should be trying to condense the time because, this generation of kids coming up, man, to try to get them and sit and watch an hour and a half, 2 hour, 2.5 hour, 3 hour event, it's just really hard. They're just not, they're not wired like that. I mean, my own boys who are into sports and all that, man, it's rare that they just sit down and watch a game from beginning to end without being distracted. So the one thing with the Elon, it condenses the time for the most part because you don't have the fouls, you don't have the reviews, you don't have as many commercials and timeouts. And one thing that's really hurting our game, and it's good and bad with the reviews. So at the end of the game, any of these games, in a close game and high-level college, they'll go look at the, hey, check the clock. Well, they check the clock 3 times in the last minute, which adds 5 extra minutes of time, and people just, that's the thing with the Major League Baseball and all this stuff, man. Like, I think that we got to look at trying to condense the amount of time, cutting timeouts, cutting halftime down shorter, all that stuff, because, people's attention span and in particular the younger generation who we want to grow the game with, they're not tuning in as much to those longer games. So the Elon ending, it's interesting. I like it. I like that there's a set score. It eliminates some of the, and again, some of the fouling and the free throws. That part of it
That's the only part I don't like, because I do think, hey, I'm up by 1, and the guy's shooting 2 free throws. Man, if I hit them both of them, worst we can do is go to overtime. Yeah. Like, I do think there's some pressure stuff there. Now, there'll still be a little bit of it, So I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's exciting. I don't think it'll happen anytime.
I don't either, but there's some momentum, and it makes a lot of sense on a lot of levels. If they asked me right now, I'd be fine with it. I'd be on board with going to it. I think it makes for get a quicker game, a little cleaner game at the end, a more pure game at the end, and again, like you said, there's a game-winning shot every game.
So I've always wondered that because you got your pulse on the basketball world better than pretty much anybody. So I was kind of interested from a coach's perspective. I know some fans, and I think it's a generational thing. I think if you're over the age of 55, you think it's ridiculous and malarkey and all those other old people words. But if you are a little bit younger, where you're looking at it, I like all the younger kids. I think they're all on board with it.
I'd like to see the average length of the last 3 minutes was when it starts of an Elon inning game compared to a close, normal college basketball game. And I bet you the Elon game probably is 5 minutes shorter.
Oh, I bet more than that.
Or 10, or 10, with the timeouts and the reviews and all that. So, again, you add that up over the course of the season. That's a lot of less time. And, again, I think trying to condense the time of the games has got to be something we prioritize moving forward.
All right, we're going to talk about Missouri Western. Western has not played since December the 2nd.
Yeah.
They have been gone. They were supposed to play Kearney and Hayes, and they didn't play those games. COVID, so they didn't get to play it. And so positives and negatives to that for you guys.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Martin, Missouri Western. Feel terrible for him because,
the game, I'm assuming, is going to be played.
Yeah, we're good. They got cleared to start practice within the last couple of days, and we should be fine to play the game. They've been on a break because they kind of had a little bit of an outbreak on their team, so yeah, you feel bad for them. Don't know. I think that you would think, to be quite honest, it should be a positive for us. They haven't played and they haven't been able to practice for 10 days in that stretch, so you would think that from a rust standpoint and just a flow of the season, that it should be an advantage for us. Now, we haven't played a lot of games last 2 weeks either. We only had one game last Saturday and one this, but we've been able to practice. So I think that, if you ask any coach, it's got to be an advantage for us. But, they're playing well. They will be, fresh because they, haven't been doing much, so and had a couple practices. So it's not like they're going to come in and just not know what they're doing. And they had some momentum before it, so they'll come in with confidence. But I feel like it's probably That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, they got a lot of guys back from last year. Will Eames, tough guy, and they're big.
Yeah.
Holy smokes, are they big?
They got a couple big guys. Fields, the point guard, their team's really playing well. Eames has been really good for them over the years and playing well. They shoot the ball well. They make almost 10 threes a game. That's what's hard about them, Jake, is they can get the ball to the paint, but they can knock down the three ball. So you got to keep the ball in front. You can't get in help situations, and then you got to guard the three line.
Best of luck.
Thanks, Jake.
That is head coach Brett Ballard of the Washburn Ichabods. 3 o'clock with the tip-off coming up on Saturday. Coming up next, we'll talk with head coach Laura Wrestling here on the Washburn Coaches Show.
Hello, this is Jack from Einstein's. It's getting cooler, fall is here, hunting season is starting, and we can help you stay warm and dry when you go into the great outdoors. Walking in the park, going to the football game, or sitting in the duck blind, we've got wool socks, thermal underwear, winter hats, and cold weather jackets to keep you warm and comfortable. We've also got winter boots for men, women, and children. For over 100 years, Einstein's has been your military surplus and outdoor outfitter. See you at Einstein's, 1820 West 10th in Topeka.
Oh, how we love our Kansas weather. Big coats and snow boots one day and tank tops and shorts the next. It makes it fun to plan, but one great plan to have is knowing great people to help you deal with that Kansas weather. And some pretty great people to know are the folks at the
Skinny Sports Bar and Grill here in the capital city. Huntoon Engage, you can swing on by. Of course, we've got hoops going on. D1 volleyball, it is the Final Four, San Diego and Texas. Man, the D1 volleyball is so much fun to watch. Those are some athletic and gigantic women doing some crazy athletic things. That is so much fun to watch. And right now, this is like the Washburn women playing basically B2 version of it. So this is a lot of fun. But coming out, of course, Sunday we got Chiefs versus the Houston Texans. We got a lot to get to when it comes to the Washburn women's basketball team. As we bring in head coach Laura Wrestling of the Washburn women's basketball team, the Washburn women evening their record in MIAA play 2-2. The Washburn women coming off a win over Rogers State 55-45. And Laura, my first question is not going to be about your basketball team. I know you're a basketball junkie. You love basketball. I asked this to Brett Ballard because I'm interested in this. We were talking about moving the basketball forward at the end of games. You know, yep. I'm sure you hold a timeout just for that purpose. But I want to talk about the Elam ending. Are you in favor of that or not in favor of that? Would that be something that you'd be interested in? How do you kind of view that when it comes to basketball?
Are you talking about the advance or what?
No, the changing of the score at the end of the game.
Yeah, you know, I'm not. I'm kind of a purist, honestly.
Yeah, and there's some people too that I love it. I like the ending, a score, there's always a game-winning point, and I think that's a lot of fun. A game-winning shot. Someone hits a pull-up jumper against Western, and you win the game. That type of thing. But man, I really do like at the end of games you got to make a free throw. I think that's important. I think being up by 2 with 15 seconds to go, and it's a 1-and-1, then you get real nervous, and if you miss it, the other team has a chance to, score. So that's the one reason I really don't like the Elam ending, where you go to a point, because there are no, super meaningful ones there at the end of the game. I mean, it puts a lot of pressure on the team who's leading.
Well, and really, I think what you'd also see is just a complete change in systems. You'd really have to kind of, eliminate. I guess you could make the argument of defensive, but everybody's going to shift to an even more offensive system than we already are.
That's true. I never thought of that.
It just becomes really a different game, and really focuses on one side of the ball. So, I like the dramatic game as everybody does, but I think for me,
you're doing all right.
We're doing all right.
Well, speaking of we're doing all right, you like the defensive game. I don't know if you know this. I'm sure you do, though. But you are 10th in the country in points per game, giving up just 53. 53! That's not a lot of points that you're allowing. You gave up just 45 points to Rogers. So what's been working defensively? I mean, that is not many points.
Yeah, I think it's credit to, first of all, our kids. Our kids are playing really hard and buying into systems, and they, as much as we struggle scoring the ball sometimes, they don't, hang their head on that to the point that they don't get down and guard, and so they're really playing together well. They're doing the things we're asking them to. They're, credit to my staff. They have a great scout and a game plan to follow, and so just a lot of people doing their jobs.
Did you think that the defense would click this early? Because the defense you installed is a little bit different than what these players, these women, are used to playing. But it seems like they're figuring it out pretty well, considering you've given up, 45 points. And I don't necessarily think 58 is a ton of points against Emporia. So, and 60 points against Northeastern, they scored a bunch of those points late, too.
Right.
So, I don't want to say, are you surprised? Because, your expectations are, hey, if you limit them to points, we have a better chance of winning. So, did you think they'd get it clicked this early?
I thought defense, honestly, after watching a lot of tape of who we were walking into, would be something we could be good at, because we do have athleticism, and they play hard, and they played hard before they were in our system, and they continue to play hard. And anytime you have, players that have some IQ and will absolutely put it on the line for you, should be a good defensive team, and they do. And so, like I said, credit to them. I mean, they could do a lot. They could have gone a lot of different ways, but they didn't. They really paid attention to our system, bought into our system, and we watch tape, and I'm still grinding out that we're making so many defensive mistakes. We'll keep it in our back pocket that they're actually doing pretty well. But it kind of sets the table on what we could do, especially once we continue to execute, and then if we can start to put some points on the board, we'll get there.
Defense is a mindset and an effort. But it also, to me, when you look at your team, you have a reflection of the head coach. You played very good defense. You were a defense, and then I don't want to say you were bad at them. I mean, you shot 40% from three. That's crazy good. And you high up there in assists and all that. But when I look back at that, I mean, defense was a big deal. Is that kind of, your kind of mantra going to your basketball team?
Well, I think just, in this sport, defense is the great neutralizer, right? It's something that gives everybody, can add value in that. And I was slow, right, as a player, and I think didn't have the athleticism and gifts that some of my teammates did, but I knew I could still contribute in that way. And I think that's what, if anything, that's what we try and give to our players, is you can always add value with these things that don't have anything to do with putting the ball in the hoop. You can.
I mean, don't get me wrong. You put the ball in the hoop. You did very well.
But that wasn't really until I was spent 3 years just screening All-Americans, and that was how I added value to my team, and it was a great role in it, and I think what we have tried to tell our players is that, that's when shots aren't falling, when teams, all these things, that's still something you can do, and freshman through senior, and I think that's where we'd rather start there and learn to score than we would be, letting people drop 80 on us and trying to figure it out.
And defense, always travels.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't matter where you play, in a 4-H building at Rogers or you're playing at Lee Arena. That's the one thing about the game is, hey, we can defend anybody anywhere. And Bill Self, I always go back to that. He goes, yeah, if you have a bad day on offense, you play defense, you still got a chance.
Right.
If you are not a good defensive team and you have a bad day of offense, you're just going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the ball don't go in the hoop, oh, bummer. The other team is shooting 55% and, you don't play any defense. So that's the one thing that when people, want more action, want more points, all that, all I go back to is, well, if you play good defense, it doesn't matter if you have a good day or a bad day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's it's true, and it takes, especially from people that want to defend. It's not fun. Defensive drills in practice aren't fun. Guarding good players isn't fun. Having to deal with the adversity and differentiation of officials isn't fun. It takes a special kind of toughness, and we're really trying to harp on that.
We're talking with Laura West, the head coach of the Washburn women's basketball team. They're 4-4 on the year, coming off the 55-45 win over Rogers State. And what did you say at the end of the first quarter? Because whatever you said obviously worked. You're down 15-8 at the end of the first quarter, so you're down by 7. You win the game by 10. That is a 17-point swing that you outscored them in the second, third, and fourth quarters. They scored just 15 points in the second and third quarter. 15 points and a half. So what was said? What changed?
It was really much of the conversation we'd had leading up to that week. I thought, a few games before we had given up the game and given up, by letting the other team get on the free throw line, and we weren't getting there. And I thought that was really the script that flipped in that game, is we kept them off it a little more and got ourselves in there with a little more aggressive play and going through contact a little more. So, we tried to. The other piece is trying to get rid of that third quarter slump that we seemed to have developed for a while. We really tried to say, hey, in our keys to our game, let's make sure we're restarting every 5 minutes, every timeout, every quarter with the same focus and passion and that we did to start the game. And so, our players did a great job of adopting that. And I thought every, media, every break, they came in with purpose, especially our starting group, and that kind of set the tone for the game.
Did it almost feel weird that, you made the same amount of field goals, they made 3 more threes, and yet you win by 10? Like, it was almost, like what was happening to you guys. Now you did it to them. That probably was like, all right, this is all I can do this.
Yeah, well, it turns out let people shoot 30 free throws, and you have a much better chance of being successful. But it was intentional, and that was what we wanted to see on the box score, and that's what we saw. And still a lot of areas for growth, but much better discipline. In that game, and that helped us to the win.
We're talking with Laura Westling, the head coach of the Washburn women's basketball team, and there's some terrific individual performances in the game against Rogers State. We had a couple career games, and then some sneaky good games from players that you just looked at it, you'd say, well, how did they get that? We'll get to that. We'll talk more about Missouri Western. All that's coming up here from the Washburn Coaches Show live at Skinny Sports Bar and Grill.
Overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
There's something about having a number 1 hit. Can't wait for the next one.
Streaming now, a new Showtime original series, George and Tammy, starring Academy Award winner Jessica Chastain.
You live in a fast world.
And Academy Award nominee Michael Shannon.
getting individual workouts. She's practicing hard. She stepped up in leadership. I mean, she's earning what she's getting. I'm glad to see some of these things kind of come into fruition, and still has so much to offer. She caught the ball stronger, but we still have a little bit to go on her in her footwork. I think that'll really cater to the touch she has. She has great touch, and we're watching tape, and she does. She has a beautiful jumper, beautiful release, and we can get that same release, in that kind of low post triangle. She's going to be pretty unstoppable. So really excited about her trajectory as a player, and but again, she's doing the work.
And then the sneaky stat here is when you watch the game and don't look at stats, you have an idea. Like, you knew Emma was having a good game. Okay, putting the points in grabbing the boards, like, you could see that. At the end of the game, I look down at the scorebook and I go, Macy Debley had 13? She didn't shoot it hardly at all, but then you get the sneaky point. She went 9 of 12 from the free throw line, 13 points, 6 boards, and the plus and minus is, I like the stat, but sometimes, if you get in a bad situation with other people and you give up a quick 10-0 run, but you stay in the game, sometimes it's good. She was plus 21 in a game that you won by 10.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that means when Macy was on the court, you won by 21. I thought Macy, low-key, was maybe the most valuable player on the court at that point in time. I was 13 points, and she drew 12 fouls. That's insane. I thought Macy, sneakily, after looking back on the game, was tremendous.
Well, one, she was able to stay on the floor because she stayed a lot more disciplined, like we were talking about. Macy gets herself in trouble because, as hard as she plays, that's her Achilles heel. She plays so hard sometimes she's sitting on the bench next to me with foul trouble for a lot of times. She did a good job of staying more disciplined and then could stay on the floor and did what she does best, which is, use how hard she plays to her advantage and forces those fouls. I mean, every game she has 20-plus minutes, she nearly has double-digit forced fouls. That's a really special stat to bring to the table. And then she knocked down free throws. To complement that, for us to be successful, we have to have Macy Debley in that kind of range, that she's capable of that double-double or flirting with that double-double every night. But mostly being on the floor and making the other team, putting pressure on them to guard. If you're not going to guard well, Macy's going to get you the foul. And so she did. She had a great game and played a little more discipline, and that's what we need from her.
Everybody looks at, the 9 of 12 from the free throw line. That's really good. But it's almost, double because, that means if you're shooting that many free throws, somebody else is on the bench in foul trouble, and her name was Bailey Cleaver. She's a player who averages like 13 a game.
Right.
She ended up with 5.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is Macy Debley. That's not, you don't look at that if you look at the scoreboard. Okay. Let's see, Bailey Cleaver played 14 minutes. Okay, she did. It's because of Macy Debley.
Yeah.
Like, that's one that I call that kind of like sneaky yardage in football. That's sneaky minutes in the basketball game.
Yep, and they were kind of boom, boom, boom at the start of every quarter. I thought she did a great job of keeping them out of rhythm with those things. But again, we try to flip the script and try to put her in space so that she can use. I mean, she's got an explosive first step for her size, and I thought she really utilized that and played well.
We're talking with Laura Weston, the head coach of the Washburn women's basketball team. All right, 1 o'clock tip-off, 12:45 pregame coverage. You take on Missouri Western. And Western, this is a team last year that surprised everybody. They were the 7th seed in the region, and they went to the Elite 8. And they got a lot of players back. Camille Evans, Connie Clark, Brianna Budgets, Jordan Cunningham. They basically got the same team from last year. This is a team that can score it. This might be maybe the best scoring team in the MIAA. They can actually really fill it up. They put up 70 on Nebraska Kearney, who's a really good defensive team. So when you prepare and put a game plan together for this one, what's the key?
We've been kind of just dicing up some of their actions. They run it where we've seen a ton of ball screens this year early on. They do a lot more kind of tricky, what we call rub screens, or some great twist screens and some things like that to put kids in positions to score it. Putting Budgets down low to post it. And they've got posting guards and they got shooting bigs, and so they have a lot of variety, a lot of versatility, and like you said, they scored at a high clip. And their system, they just kind of have it down. They have great rhythm in how they play the game.
And it's not as if they shoot it outstanding. I mean, they're 30% from deep, they're not, a 50% from the field on offense, but they get up a lot of shots, and they play a fast-paced type of game.
Yeah, they do, and they get shots they want. I think that's the key. They're not jacking from, all over the floor. The shots that they shoot are shots that are designed and for them in their offense for certain players that continuing, to fight and get those. And so they have great offensive discipline. They have great kids to play, and we got to make sure we're ready to go with our game plan because they can feel it.
Do you try to slow down the game? That someone, everybody wants to say they want to dictate tempo. Is this one where you try to slow down the game a little bit so that they don't try to do what they want to? Because they want to get out and go. I mean, they're averaging almost 80. So I look at that as, do you try to slow it down?
Well, we got to guard, but at the same time, we've got to work a little harder for our points, and so we got to make sure that we're balancing that on the defensive end. I think worst case scenario for us is that we're shooting it within 5 seconds and then letting them shoot it within 5 seconds because they're going to make a lot more than we are at this point in the year. But so we've got to guard and do what we've been doing defensively, and take a lot of discipline into game plan, and then for us kind of find the shots that we want and really kind of make them guard. I think that's the other thing of making them play on both ends of the floor.
Alrighty, you play on the 17th, and you don't play until the 29th, and you've got, instead of playing all your non-conference games early on, you said, no, I want to play one when we come back from Christmas. That way we don't have to all of a sudden jump in and play UCO on the road on the 31st. I'm assuming that was scheduled, that was planned, but hey, I don't want to be off 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a lot. You want your players to have something in the back of their mind when they're sitting over break on that, week off. And, we're not just coming back to practice. We're coming back to play within 2 days. And so hopefully it keeps them sharp a little bit, gives us some purpose, cuts that break down a little bit as far as, when we get back. And that's what we want. We want to stay competitive and have that tune-up before we get right back into league play.
When you were playing, did you get this long of a break, or is it since you've played that you get, this 8-day break from basketball?
Oh, it was like the dark ages. You kidding me? Because
I don't remember,
but I think I remember a week. That's what I remember. I remember traveling back on the 26th every year. So depending probably whenever we got our trips done or our game done, but I remember having to either fly back or drive back on December 26th every year. So
okay, because I don't remember, because they changed it for a little bit.
Right.
I do remember that, but do you like the fact that you get that much time off?
I think it's great for the players. I love that about Division II is you have those balance, those time periods. You can't just talk about life and balance and then be grinding out the same D1 schedule. I think it's a perfect amount.
No, wait a minute. It's not about the student athlete. It's not all about
right. Who knew? But
what a farce.
I think it's fantastic. It always seems to come at the right time. These kids have been grinding it out since August. We talk about the games we've been playing, but we've been in preseason since August.
Can you turn it off?
We're gonna. We try, and that's something we're trying to be really deliberate about with our staff. Like, hey, let's work our tails off and scout this one up, and then set your phone off, set your email off, set your scouting off, set your film off.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself you don't get the full week, but give yourself a few days where you're just with your family and being present. Because if we don't unplug a little bit right now, we're not going to be ready to go for the second half either. So I'm a big proponent for this week. I'm pleased. That some of our players get to go home, and our international kids for the first time.
I was going to say
August.
that. Are Lizzie and Natalia, are they able to go back home?
Yep, both are going home, so we're really glad for that, and get some time with their families. And so, I think that's the challenge of this week. They have to go straight from the mental stress of finals, and then they know what's on the other side of this game on Saturday. So just trying to keep them where their feet are, and then but no matter what goes down Saturday, there's a lot of season left, and I'm just incredibly proud of this group and really glad to be here.
The question is, when does their flight leave? Are they leaving at like 9 o'clock on Saturdays?
Well, we did tell them they can't fly on Saturdays. We told them they nobody flies on Saturdays, so it's just too much stress. Checking your phone, seeing what your flight's doing. So everybody booked a Sunday flight, and so hopefully we'll be able to stay present for Saturday.
Well, you take on Missouri Western, 12:45 pregame coverage, 1 o'clock tip-off. Best of luck, and happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Thanks, you too, sir. Merry Christmas.
That is the head coach of the Washburn women's basketball team, Laura Westling, evening their record up 4-4 after a win against Rogers. So for the final game before the Christmas break, because they still got 2 more games here in the calendar year 2022 against Bethany and then against Central Oklahoma coming up on New Year's Eve in Edmond. We'll get the final shout-outs to our on-site engineer, Sean Carter, also Evan Davidson back at the Country 106.9 studios. The Washburn Ichabod's back in action on Saturday, 12:45 pregame coverage, 1 o'clock tip for the women, 3 o'clock tip-off